Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike. Today we are doing my eyeshadow palette declutter. And I was going to film this in a completely different setup, but there's too much sun and I need to film it like this. So I do apologize in advance. In case you're wondering how I go about my declutters, then I would like to refer you to the disclaimer that will pop up on the screen right now. Please be aware that this is not an eyeshadow palette collection video like some people like to lump these together. I don't. If you want to see and how I feel about all of my eyeshadow palettes, then please stay tuned because I do a eyeshadow palette collection video every single year. Today we're just deciding what I want to get rid of, and I have a number for this one. I don't have that for any of my other declutters, save for this one, because I definitely have too many eyeshadow palettes. We already knew that. But yeah, I would like to get rid of 50. So that's the number we're going for. So I've laid a stack in front of you. I'm just going to go through them. I don't think I'm gonna open every single one of them. Like I said, this is not a collection video, but a declutter. So let me clear the deck so you can see things a little bit better. So I would like to start you off with some of my Zoeva palettes. And sadly, Zoeva has been discontinuing very many of their eyeshadow palettes in the past year. There's only a handful of these you can still get, and there's a few here that I had kept around last time for video purposes, but I know I can now, also because nobody can buy them anymore, I'm going to get rid of them. I'm not going to get rid of the Precious one. This is a really nice mini palette, and it's got some really unique shades, so I want to keep that. The three that I think I want to get rid of from previous declutters are these ones, the matte, the rose golden, and the opulence. These color stories just didn't really work for me. They were either too bland or all matte palettes are just not really my vibe. So these are definitely gonna go. And everything else here is gonna stay because I also know I can no longer buy them. So I've got the original Cocoa Blend, Caramel Melange, the one that they came out a bit later, Spice of Life, and my favorite of the chocolate bars, their Blanc Fusion. This is Neutrals with a pop of yellow. So those I love. And then the ones that are my favorites though are these ones. So the On Taupe, so sad that that's discontinued. The Melody I believe was limited edition to begin with. And then we have the IC, the Heritage, the Premier, and the Eclectic Eyes. And the reason why I'm keeping all of these is because these all have very unique shades. And I feel they are really lovely color stories as well. I really like Zoeva quality. I know not everybody does, but I really do. I also had some Tarte stuff lying in front of you right now for the opening of the video. I'm not going to get rid of these because I love all three. Even though this has pressed glitters, and I don't love pressed glitters. This is the High Tides and Good Vibes eyeshadow palette. These are pressed glitters that do work for me. So that's why I would like to hang on to those. And the In Bloom is one of my OG favorite neutral palettes, so can't say no to that. And if I want to go warm toned, then this is a very wearable warm tone palette for me. And these, I think I should actually declutter in terms of like palettes that I don't use a lot. I definitely think that the Balm palettes take the cake when it comes to palettes I don't get a lot of use out of. But I do like to refer to these in videos, and like, they're just really good ones to have around, even though also the Balm has been really curating and cutting down on their eyeshadow palettes, I know. And for instance, this one I could never get rid of because I bought this on a trip and it only cost me €2 because the store was getting rid of all of the Balm stuff. So that's how I got my hands on that. It's the first palette from them I tried. I like the Nude Dude because it's a good alternative to like a Naked 3 if you think that's too pale. This is more warm toned and deeper. And this was another warm tone palette that I did really like, the Nude Beach. And then the Meet Matte palettes. These are some of the very few matte palettes that I will be keeping around, because if I go matte, then I want these. And then we have Urban Decay. If there is a makeup brand that I collect, it would be Urban Decay. I don't have all of their palettes. I definitely do still sort of like try and use my brain. But these are palettes I've collected over the years. And a lot of these I just can't get rid of. For instance, these two palettes are super old and discontinued, but I still keep them around, especially because some of these older shades have been popping up in new palettes. For instance, Honey was in the Naked Honey, and I can definitely see them redo some of these shades in the future. So it's good to have that one for reference. And I just can't get rid of this one because of the stunning packaging, even though it's all matte. The Naked Basics 1 and 2. If I go matte palettes, I tend to go for these kind of things. These are lovely, and I want to keep them. Here we have some limited edition stuff. And here there's also some palettes that I can get rid of, potentially. I have the Back Talk. I like mine. I'm going to keep it. The After Dark is also quite unique, and I really like Urban Decay for like shimmers, like fun shimmers, and this palette is that for me. So I'm going to keep that. The one that I'm going to be putting into Makeup Purgatory is the Born to Run. And I'll show you why. This is my Vice 3. I prefer my Vice 3 to this. As you can see, isn't the Born to Run the Vice 3 but like with more warm tones? So for me, the Vice 3 I prefer over this. I already own that. I know this is a very popular palette and a lot of people like it, so I want to keep it around for reference. And the Wired, I am definitely getting rid of. I did not like the quality of this, and I feel I have better, brighter shades in my indie palettes for sure. So this was a bit of a mishap from Urban Decay. Everything else here is gonna stay. The Naked one, I am going to retire from the collection like the Born to Run. This is makeup history. I cannot possibly get rid of this. So I've got certain things from Urban Decay I just don't want to get rid of, and everything else is gonna stay. So I've got the entire like Naked family here. I just got the Naked Wild West, Reloaded, 2, 3. These are two of my all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes. You would have to pry those out of my cold dead hands for sure. Then we have the Smoky, the Heat, the Cherry, the Honey, and the Naked Ultraviolet. And for me, Naked palettes, that's my favorite formula on the planet. I already mentioned Vice palettes. So I've got the 1, 2, 3, and 4. I just recently filmed a look with these and did a video where I swatch all of these as well. So in case you'd like to see more, you can. And then we have these limited edition palettes that I also can get rid of. So we have the Heavy Metals, we have the Full Spectrum, the 15th Anniversary Jewelry Box. I can never say that. And then we have the Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass palette. I've got my Lime Crime things here. I really like these. I'm not going to be getting rid of any of them because I really love them. This to me is the Modern Renaissance on steroids. I've said it before. This is great if you have a cool and fair skin tone. This is one of my favorite smoky eye palettes. This has teals. You know I love my teals. And this is really pretty for spring actually with these like pinky purples and some corals. Also keeps for me are all 4 of my Lorac Pro palettes. The 3 is with the Naked 2 and 3, one of my all-time favorite palettes, so these are not going to go anywhere. I have all of my Kaleidos Futurism palettes here. This one I just used recently, the Sashimi City. This is the 5. We have the 4, the 3, and then the new one they just came out with Angelica Nugvist. The Club Nebula. I haven't even played around with this. This is one of my newest palettes. These I have all put on my face and I really, really like them. So my favorite has to be, I think, the Astro Pink. I do really like this one with the teal and that really nice icy lavender shade. Those are really lovely. And my other favorite is the Electro Turquoise for sure. This little quad from Kiko I'm going to keep. I tried a full face of Kiko in December and I ended up really liking this palette again, so it's gonna stay. These 2 NYX palettes I'm going to get rid of. I never reach for these. I don't think about these. I love the quality, especially of the olive, the Perfect Filter Olive You palette is really lovely, but these just, I don't know. I'm just a bit over NYX for some reason. So these are gonna go. And then we have some e.l.f. here. We have 2 of the larger palettes, and then 3 of these mini palettes. And the larger palettes, I have only tried the Earth and Ocean in full. That's definitely going to stay because this is a blue-green palette of my dreams and very affordable, so love it. And the Retro Paradise has just been launched in Europe, at least where I live in the Netherlands. This only popped up on Douglas like the past month or 2. So I have not been able to put this on my face yet. This is my newest purchase in terms of eyeshadow. These three I'm going to declutter. I like them, but I have other smaller, more curated color stories from the drugstore that I like better that you'll see coming up by a completely different brand, especially the blue one I didn't like. The green one was pretty, but I have better, like I like the Earth and Ocean better, so why did I buy these two? Truffles I like. I am inclined to keep it, but I have plenty of neutral shades that can do something similarly to this. And as you can see in a minute, I have that by another brand that I would also like to travel with, so I don't need it. We have my luxury quads, and these quads have not been decluttered ever because they were expensive, and since I buy everything with my own money, I'm like, ooh, I can't get rid of these. And I definitely am going to be keeping most. However, it just doesn't really fit in my drawers at the moment. I think it's this one. Yes, this is the one from Dior I'm getting rid of. This is just not the kind of colors I go for anymore. This is very sort of 2014 me. So this is gonna go because I actually bought this one this winter. Oh, I can get rid of the little spoolies or the little brush tips. And this I loved, so that's sort of replaced that for me. I'm going to keep the other ones that I have. I can show you these real quickly. These are all long since discontinued, and they just have some really cool shades, I find. So that's why they get to keep. And this is really pretty, and it's got this pop-up mirror. It's got some really nice khakis, which are currently all the rage. So those Dior ones are going to stay. The Chanel ones are all going to stay. I have the matte one. I believe this is one that a lot of people find very pretty. It's all matte, but it's got those warm tones that I do like. And then I have a couple of these like shimmering numbers. These again were mostly limited editions, like these two for like spring and fall collections. This was a fall collection. This made me fall in love with teal eyeshadow. This is called Road Movie. And then here I'm going to get rid of my Makeup Designery quad. I've kept this around for years. It's mostly mattes. This is the only shade with a bit of shimmer. It's just very old and it's time to go. I never even think of reaching for it. I would reach for something like the Urban Decay Naked Basics over that any time of day. And then my Charlotte Tilbury is going to stay. Morphe, Jaclyn Hill, Vault. I'm going to get rid of some of these because I don't need all of these. However, some of them, for instance, this one, Ring the Alarm, I really like that red shade. So what I think I want to do is we'll see a brand that I have a lot of palettes by in a minute. And I think I actually want to salvage that one shade and put it in a different pan. So this is going to stay for now, but I'm going to take that one shade out and then it's going to go. And the one I want to keep in full is the Dark Magic, because that's the only one that really appeals to me. It's got the taupes, it's got the teal, it's got the greens. These two, I think I want to do something similarly with. So in the Armed and Gorgeous, I only really like Classified. So again, I'm going to salvage that one shade and I'm going to get rid of the rest of the palette. And in here, I think I want to, well, Gem wasn't a great shade, I believe. And this has 3 rose gold shimmers. I do really like Berry Treasure though. So again, I think I want to keep one of these, but like one shade, and then I'm going to get rid of the palette. So these are going to count as decluttered. I'm just going to put them in here for now so that I know which ones I'm getting rid of, but these 3 are going to count as decluttered, but I will keep them around for my little project. So if you stay tuned, you'll see that video coming up soon. So then we have my Melt little family. This is currently all the Melt palettes I have. The Gemini, not going anywhere. I always get a heart attack when opening these because Melt shadows are so fragile. I'm afraid from just opening and closing my drawers that these will have popped out or something. So Myrte is not going to go anywhere. The Smoke Sessions, not going anywhere. Millennial Pinks I bought in a sale and I haven't used it yet, so I still want to try that one. And the Waiting Room I bought when it was launched, and I'm keeping it in the packaging because I like the outer box better than the actual box. And I haven't played with this one either yet, so that's new. What I am going to give a bit of a rejig right now are my stacks. There are 4 stacks here in total. The one that I'm going to keep is the gunmetal stack, because that's the only one that hasn't been turned into a palette, and it's my favorite one of these. So this is the blueprint, and sadly my blueprint stack came broken. So it arrived shattered. I repressed it, but you can just see how messy this is, and it's making me not want to use it. However, I'm not sure, can you see it well? Yes, you can. The one that didn't shatter are the two, now it did, no it didn't. But the two blues that I really wanted this stack for didn't shatter. And I think actually that if I wedge this into this stack, it will make for a really pretty cool toned stack. So I'm going to declutter these ones and get rid of my blueprint stack and just save that one shade that works. The She's and Parties, I've decided I'm going to buy the palette at some point this year, do a comparison with the stack, and then get rid of it. So for now, it's gonna stay, because I do really like these shades, but the palette has some lighter lilacs, and I feel that this is quite deep for my fair skin. So it's gonna stay, but I am going to put it with those Urban Decay palettes that are essentially moved out of my collection. And then I have the Rust stack, which has been turned into a palette. And you guys, there's only one shade in this entire stack that I love, and it's the mustardy brown in the middle called Rubbish. The other shades I have a million times over in other palettes, and if I were to ever miss these shades, I could just buy the palette because I would be more inclined to use that. So guess what I'm gonna do? I'm going to add Rubbish to my little stack here. Get rid of this and keep these 7 shades. So let me talk about something that can go. These two Folklore palettes were sent to me in PR. Meet the only PR in my entire makeup collection. And I just don't like these as much as some of my other stuff. So I kept them around last time, but I no longer need to keep these. So that's why these are gonna go. And then hiding in the corner are my two Milani palettes. The Most Loved Mattes I'm going to get rid of because I don't love all matte palettes all that much. The Soft and Sultry I'm going to keep. It's such a sad day to have seen Milani declutter these. But then I have two Odin's Eye palettes, the Solomona and the Norns. The Norns was just released. It was released in February, and I did buy it pretty quickly because I really like the color story of this, and it doesn't have any glitters. So I was very impressed with the swatches I did. Again, because it's so new to me, I haven't used it yet, so these are going to stay. One of the best palettes I've tried recently is the Arcana from Shroud. I should be receiving my It's Freaking Bats soon. I'm currently in the batch range that they're working on, so hopefully it's going to be here soon. But yeah, the Creepy Cute and the Arcana, pastels and really lovely jewel tones. Shroud, previously known as Strobe, does a really good eyeshadow. What was a bit hit and miss for me was Beauty Bay. I bought the pastels first, and then I bought the Book of Magic, thinking it can't be the formula, because the pastels palette I'm going to chuck in the bin. I don't even want to try passing this on to someone. This was so terrible. These are really pretty pastels, don't get me wrong. If you do Instagram makeup and you only do makeup for a makeup look on Instagram. If you wear these throughout the day, they're going to fall off your eyes. So that didn't work. But I was very surprised with the quality of the Book of Magic. That was very successful for me. And this has all the colorful shades that I love. It's got greeny teals, it's got blues, it's got purples, and some neutrals. This worked really well for me. So this I'm going to keep, this I'm going to get rid of. And then from LA Girl, I have one palette that I have tried and one that I didn't try. The Haute Haute Heat. Very similar to the Book of Magic. Greens, purples, teals with neutrals. This is just a bit big. It was lovely quality, I have to say, especially for the price point. This is very affordable, but I think I like the Book of Magic just a little bit better, and it will give me something similarly, so I don't need to keep this. But I am keeping this. This is the Downplay palette. It's called Downplay. A lot of people have been saying this is a dupe for the Smoky Obsessions from Huda Beauty. It's the only Obsessions palette that I would like to get at some point, if they ever do it again. But yeah, this I haven't tried yet. And this is going to be tough. Ace Beauté. I I have a love-hate relationship with their formula. The Oceanic I love, so that's not going anywhere. This is blue-greens that I just love. That's not going anywhere. The one I'm not sure of is the Slice of Paradise. I mainly want to keep it for Fruit Dove, especially because I feel, I'm not sure if this is true, but in the Wired palette you get this green called Currant, and I think that Fruit Dove is very similar. And the thing that Currant is my favorite shade in this palette. So if I keep this around, I will still have the same idea of palette, which is why I'm solid on the Wired and that can go. Because if I keep this, it's fine. It's just that some of these shades bled on my lower lash line. So on the top lashes, like top lid, it was fine. On the lower lash line, this did the same thing as a lipstick that bleeds out of your lip line. It just has a couple of really good shades. So I think I'm going to keep it off to the side here in a bit of a maybe pile. And I think I may want to revisit some of my bright rainbow palettes after I've gone through some of what I have lying in front of me and decide if I really need to keep it, because I don't need like 10 rainbow palettes. You know what I mean? So if it's a rainbow palette that seems superfluous to work compared to the rest, I can still get rid of it. Certify then the Affinity 2 and the Tropical Wonders. This is a rainbow color story that I love. This is one of my favorites. So I know I want to keep that, but for now I'm going to put it with the Ace Beauté so I can compare it. This is a lovely blue-green palette. It's just incredibly bright. It doesn't have a lot of depth, even though you do get deep shades. On me, maybe because I have a fair skin tone, they pull a lot lighter. And so these are just really, really bright. I want to keep it in my for comparison, for video purposes sort of part where I also keep some Urban Decay stuff. So it's just sort of like do a blue-green roundup. And I would want to use that palette, so I don't want to get rid of it yet. But it is going to move out of my main collection because I know I will use the Oceanic over this if I want to do a blue-green look. These two are not going anywhere. I just bought these at the end of 2020. The Identity 1 and 2 by Persona. The 2 wasn't my favorite precisely because there are a few shades in here that I feel pull differently on my lid than they did looking in the pan. But it's got like just for the green and the purple I would keep it around. And then this is one of my new favorite neutral palettes. Violet Voss, Sugar Crystals, and Hashtag. One of these is going to go, and it's going to be the Hashtag. This has been on the chopping block for a while. It's just not my kind of colors. If I want to do warm tones with a pop of purple and perhaps a yellow, I have other palettes that can give me that I like the quality much better of. So this is going to go. Very new to me, this was still my wish list from last year. I wanted to buy the Sugar Crystals, but I only have had, this came last week, so I haven't played with it yet. September Rose Cosmetics Slush 2 and Slush 1 palettes. We have the Slush 1. See, this is the bright palette that I love. And then I have this one, which is mattes, that I also love. So these I'm going to put with my Ace Beauté and Certify palettes so that I can do a bit of a rainbow palette comparison. I already mentioned just now that I have a menagerie order on its way. They brought back international shipping. I was online. I made it through the order process. It's making its way to me. I can't wait because I love my Dragon Child from back when they were still Makeup Monsters and the Feral palette so much. These are some of my most unique, best quality palettes in my collection. A brand you can no longer buy is Blush Tribe, and there's one that I'm going to get rid of, which would be the Layla 2. This is a lovely green palette, but like the Certify, it's bright, and this is, since it's all green, it just does one thing, and I felt everything I did with this look the same. So this I'm going to get rid of. I now have another full-on green palette, which you'll see coming up in a minute, that I have bought to replace this, because I do like an all green palette. I do. It's just not that one. The Hasina 2 is not going anywhere though. And then a brand that nobody talks about anymore, but Misha Lu Cosmetics, Witchcraft. This is such a pretty grungy color story. But yeah, that I want to keep. And because I like that one so much, I bought the Fawn palette, which is their neutral palette. And it's got quite a lot of like really pretty cool tones over on this side. especially these two, like water reflection. So pretty. Brands that I only have one palette from. And some of these are gonna go, I can already tell you. And I can tell you that this big guy that's lying in the middle, I'm going to do something really terrible here, people. I'm going to get rid of my Glam palette, for sure. Or the cake palette from Glamlight, I should say. Why did I call it the Glam palette? I don't even want to put it in the comparison of my other rainbow palettes. And I know that a lot of people put this in their 2020 favorite palettes. For a lot of them, it was their favorite palette. And I understand why. It's just that I already mentioned I love Urban Decay Naked palettes because it's buildable. This isn't a buildable formula. This is boom pigment. You need to blend for days to get it to sit nicely on your eyes. And I felt that some shades in this palette just weren't it for me. The shimmers on this side of the palette, lovely. The shimmers on this side of the palette, which were my main motivation for buying it, these three, this lavender shade, I had to like 4 layers and it still wasn't as intense as in the pan for me. This icy mint shade, when I tried to blend it out, it's probably due to my coloring, my undertone, it looked dirty on me. The shade I loved the most was Peach. This really bright, corally, orangey kind of matte. Lovely, lovely shade. But I'm not going to keep a palette around for one shade. The Dominique Cosmetics Celestial Storm, I'm going to keep, because I have only played around with it a little bit over the fall time. The bright shades over on this side are very tightly pressed and they're not the best, but some of these other shades were lovely. This is just one that I can see myself decluttering in the long term, but to me it's still too new for me to get rid of it. Sigma Enchanted, similar thing. It wasn't my favorite, but it's got this really nice matte dark green that I love. And also this one I love, and that one. So it's got a couple, like 5 or 6 shades that I love this palette for, that I want to keep it around for. The mini color palette fun size from Sugar Pill. This is one of those rainbow palettes that I want to keep around, so that's gonna go onto the pile. And then I have the Nomad Tokyo Harajuku. I understand again why people like this. I really, really do. This is a lovely palette. I just did one look with this that I loved, one that I thought was okay, and one that I didn't like at all. So for me, these satin shades in the middle are a bit so-so. These sparkly shades are pretty, but I thought the green and the yellow didn't have enough base pigment for it to really make a difference. And those are the shades you hear everybody raving about. So for me, I still prefer the Creepy Cute as a pastel palette, but because I did do a really pretty pinky purple toned look with it, I'm gonna keep it around for now. It's also a newer palette to me. Sample Beauty Hydrographic Palette. This I'm going to get rid of because it's got the blue, greens, and the purples. So something I like color story wise. The quality of this, there's nothing wrong with it. You can find this brand on Beauty Bay. This is one of their smaller, more curated color stories, but I have the Asina too, and I would reach for that over this. And then we have the Classic Horror from LA Splash, which is another rainbow palette. This is what I mean with not needing another rainbow palette, people. But this one is grungier and murkier. It's got, like, these shades have depth to them that the other ones don't have. But I'll put it with the rainbow palettes to see if it's just these ones that I end up having as rainbow palettes, then I don't mind. Tropical Dreams from OPV. If you're missing out on the Tribe from Juvia's, because that seems to be going in and out in stock constantly, this is the same color story with some extra shades. So this is lovely quality too, so I want to keep it. The Lunar Beauty Eternal Eclipse. I bought it when it released and I haven't played with it yet. And then we have the Colored Rain Queen of Hearts. This is the one I'm deciding to keep over my Violet Voss hashtag, because I like the quality of this better. This shade, Royal Highness, is life. Now that I'm looking at this is why I can get rid of that Bling Boss palette from Morphe, because it has very similar shades to this. And then we have 2 palettes I'm going to get rid of. The Stila. What's this called again? Eyes Are the Window of the Spirit. I put this on in so many videos of like all-time favorite neutral palettes, and it is. It still is. But there's only one shade I keep this around for, which is this bluish gray, and it's very similar to a bluish gray that I have in a palette that I will be keeping. So this can go after all these years. I've had fun with that one. That one hurts a little bit, I have to admit, but it's time. The Grimoire from V, I wanted to love this so badly. Apparently, they've redone the palette, and it no longer comes with pressed glitters. Yay for the brand listening to people. However, I'm not going to throw it away yet, because this is another shade I want to salvage to put in a ColourPop palette for sure, because this shimmering black is life. Okay, we're keeping the train rolling with some Viseart. Viseart is a brand that I didn't like at all at first. For the longest time, if you've seen other declutters from me, you know that I own the Sultry Muse. And I have tried decluttering already. This palette in particular, I've tried to declutter it like twice already, and I never get around to it. But I know now why I don't like it and why I don't reach for this. And then this is the same reason why I don't like old matte palettes. This is an old shimmer palette, but all the shimmers have the same amount of like a satiny, very soft finish that I just don't go for. It's time, because I have found that if Viseart actually does a color story with mattes and shimmers, I do like them. These I now love. I know she's not everyone's cup of tea, especially these mini palettes, but I love a good Huda Beauty palette, as you can tell. Let me move these to the side. We have Mercury Retrograde and Desert Dusk. This is another one of those palettes where I'm like, if I want to do warm tones with a pop of purple, I'm gonna go with that. And I've been raving about this one as like a perfect palette for pale skin people. So those are not going anywhere. And all of these like little Obsessions palettes that I have, like I'm just going to lay them all out for you. I don't have all of them. I know it looks like it, but I don't have all of them. I bought the ones that I like, and these are some of my favorite smaller panned, like smaller eyeshadow palettes for sure. I'm just briefly showing you these. I'm not even going to open them. I'm going to keep all of my Jeffree Star palettes, because even though I don't like him as a person, he does make good eyeshadow. Dose of Colors. These are not going anywhere either. These are some of my favorite like matte palettes, so that's why I have a few. If I go for a matte palette, I tend to go for these like mini kind of things. So we have the mauves, and we have the Blushing Berries. This I love in the fall time for like a berry smoky eye. And the Pretty Cool I bought because I love the other two so much. And this green toned taupe is life. And then they came out with the Cutting Edge, which is another reason why I don't have to hang on to my Armed and Gorgeous. And then this Smoky Soiree. Oh, I love this when I wore it. So these are stunning. Not going anywhere. Natasha Denona. I have just a few of her palettes. I definitely don't buy all of her stuff because it's not all for me. It just isn't. And there is one that I'm like, this is going to go into makeup purgatory. I'm not going to get rid of it yet because it was way too expensive. But what I do want to do, I love the gold. Let me put this one here. But I don't like that shade. So I want to take this shade, which is my favorite shade from the Lila, put it in here. And I actually, because I thought we could do it in this video, got some magnets here from Inglot. So let me see if this works. Does this work? So this is Dragon Bite from the Lila. And I actually think that this gold shade works really well in the Lila palette. So that's why this is going to go into purgatory, because maybe if I like it better now, I might want to keep it around, because I do like these neutrals a lot, and I do like these purpley berry shades it has. It just, this is where it's at for me. So I've now done the switch around that I wanted to do. So these are going to stay. The Glam, I've already said, might replace the Urban Decay Naked 2 as one of my top 3 all-time favorite palettes. So that's not going anywhere. And I just got myself the Mini Love. And I really like the look I did with it. We have Sleek. And I still have 10 of my Sleek palettes. I used to have more. I already got rid of a few last year. And here again, I'm going to really cull a few because I never reach for these. I think my ColourPop Juvia's Place Zoeva Urban Decay palettes will suffice when it comes to what some of these do for me. I'm going to put the Au Naturel in my Makeup Memories box because, really, this was my Urban Decay Naked 2 before I owned a Naked 2. So I could never get rid of this. But yeah, that's going to go somewhere else. It's moved out of my collection. I will be keeping the Storm because this steely blue and also this dark blue, they are just really unique to my collection, even though this is super old and it should probably go, but I do really like that one. I am getting rid of the Oh So Special, which is the pinky one. Don't need it. On the Horizon, warm tones with greens. I've got those a million times over in my collection. The Vintage Romance I kept around a lot because, woo, dropping things here, because I liked some of these like bronzy, goldy, taupey shades at the top. But I feel that this is very similar to my Zoeva palette. Where did it go? Hold on. It's right here at the top. So I can show you what I mean. I think, don't these color stories like look identical? So I feel that the Zoeva is better quality. It's newer. So that's going to stay, and the Vintage Romance is going to go. The Enchanted Forest is the only one I didn't review. This is just a bit of a mismatch when it comes to the color story. So that's going to go. Ultra Mattes I was keeping around for that dark forest green. I now have my Sigma palette for a dark forest green that I love. The Sunset I'm going to keep because this is warm tones with a pop of blue. And I don't have any other palette that does that, because I own this. Oh, and by the way, I also feel that this is one of the better quality palettes that I own from Sleek. The Nautical collection I cannot get rid of. This is neutrals with a pop of blue and green, so if I want to do that blue-green palette in the future, then I think this may be a contender to be put in that video. And then I'm going to get rid of the Garden of Eden. This is neutrals with some greens. I have better greens in my collection by now, so these can all go. And these are my color pops. I have a lot. Let me lay it all out for you. The color pop, as I'm doing this, I'll just talk to you about the plan. Because I have a plan when it comes to my color pop palettes. I don't want to keep this many. I know I don't. But I also don't like these like monochrome color stories. I didn't like all of the monochrome palettes. Let's be real here. And, oh, I even have more. And so, and some of these, for instance, the Making Mauves, I felt wasn't perfect. So there are just quite a few here where I feel like there's like 2 or 3 shades in each palette that I love, but I don't love every palette. So what are a couple of palettes that I know I don't want to mess with? The Dream Street, I'm not going to mess with, so that's a definite keep. Going Coconuts. Not messing with it, it's perfect. And the same I feel about the taupe. Now the taupe one I want to keep as is. Don't want to mess with it. I think I also don't want to mess with the Baroque because I think this is a really lovely color story and everything in it works. And also the Wine and Only I don't want to mess with because I really like it. The Stone Cold Fox I haven't used yet, so I can't let you know how I feel about that. But everything else that I've got going on, I want to try, and I think half this for sure. But like I mentioned already, I've got a couple of shades in other palettes that I would want to put in here. For instance, in the Smoke Show, I know I want to take out this sequin shade and put that shimmering black from V Cosmetics in. I know I want to take this matte, like off-white out. And I know I want to take the only shade I loved from the Blue Moon, which is this gray tone blue. Don't you think that that shade would just look lovely if it's in here? I think it would. So that's, for instance, something I want to do. So that's like, instead of 2 palettes, that would be 1. So this is a keep. This is a declutter. Like, I'm not going to get rid of them in this video, but just so you know. We would keep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we would get rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ColourPop palettes. Which I think is a good number. I don't know. Like, we're just, I'm gonna have to see when I do that rejig how many there actually are, but that's where I'm gauging it at right now. Hi, welcome back. I had to recharge my battery real quickly so we can continue. I've laid out all the palettes I haven't gone through yet, and that's why there's already stuff in the middle here, because that's my Essence and Catrice stuff. If you don't know, I am an avid trier of Essence and Catrice makeup, but not all of the Essence and Catrice makeup is created equal. And by now they have been doing some really fun limited edition collections that I have been collecting for a while now. So some of this is gonna go, some of this is gonna stay, and some of this is just going to go into my makeup memory box because of the collection kind of part. The ones I'm holding are the villains from the Catrice Villains collection that they did together with Essence. Essence did the princess ones, so they're right here. And then Catrice did the villains ones. These were not necessarily the best palettes these brands have ever done, but the packaging alone, like the Maleficent one was probably the best one, but these all came with pressed glitters, which I wasn't a huge fan of, so yeah, these were okay. I tried all of them. I did a video with these as well. They are really lovely, quite heavy palettes too. But these are just going to go into a drawer, and I'm sometimes just going to gawk at these and look at how pretty these are. This Essence palette right here, the Hello New York, I'm going to declutter. I kept this around because it is a really pretty, like, cooler toned eyeshadow palette, but I have so many cool tone palettes that I love. And for instance, a shade like this, I know I have that in my Zoeva on taupe. So this blue duochrome, I don't need to keep it around for. So that's gonna go. The same goes for this Catrice palette, the crystallized rose quartz. This is pretty, but I have other Catrice palettes that they do now that I like better. The Essence Silver Glitter Show was a limited edition eyeshadow palette. Look at how fun this is with the glitters. I have the Pink Glitter Show in my makeup memory box, but this is a cool tone color story that I do want to keep around because this is lovely. These two palettes from the Disney collection from Catrice that they did spring of 2020. I'm not going to get rid of the Minnie and the Daisy Duck. Again, I've reviewed these, filmed a video with these. These are lovely. This Essence Daily Dose of Power palette. This is the one where they got it totally wrong. The quality is okay, but the color story is just all over the place. So that can go. The Catrice Queen Couture eyeshadow palette was really lovely quality. It's a really great, more cool toned leaning color story as well. I can't get rid of this. This was limited edition, and even if I were to ever get rid of it, it would go into a makeup memory box because it's that good. These will tackle last. This Essence palette, the Beautiful eyeshadow palette, is gonna go. These were discontinued, and this is a lovely neutral eyeshadow palette, for sure. I've used it a couple of times as I was traveling, for sure. But Catrice now does these mini palettes, so we're going to discuss those in a minute. But yeah, this I'm no longer going to be keeping around. This Essence palette I always keep around because it's such a nice curated color story. You could put these together yourselves, the My Must-Haves, and I don't remember what shades I put in this, but this was lovely, really good quality. Do I want to keep it around? I do want to keep this. Yeah, I do, because I do think this is still, till this day, some of the best quality Essence has ever done. This is new from Essence, the Out in the Wild eyeshadow palette. This also comes in a neutral with a pop of green, and this is sort of like rosy toned neutrals, and I actually feel, so I put this in my lap, I thought that these might be similar. So this is the Disney Princess Aurora palette. Nah, they're different, but I think that if you were to own both of these, you definitely don't need both. The Witch Side palette by Essence they came out with last year, and this was not great quality, so this is gonna go. Something that Catrice did right is their new Neon Nude palette. This is a limited edition for spring, right now, and it's neutrals with a pop of neon. It was really lovely. I thought that these shades worked really well, and I did some stunning looks with it, so I want to keep it around. And then my loves, the recent releases from Catrice that just kill it at the drugstore are lying in front of you. right now. So if you can find these, the 5-in-a-box mini eyeshadow palettes or the Pro Slim eyeshadow palettes, get them because they're amazing. This is the reason why I'm getting rid of my little e.l.f. bite-size palettes. These are not going anywhere. These are really good quality, very consistent. Every single one of these has the same lovely quality, whereas in the e.l.f. ones, which shade you get really depends, like really determines what kind of quality you get as well. Like the blue one was just terrible and the neutral one was okay. Of these three, this is the newest one they just came out with, so I've only done one look with this. This is very pale, and as purpley as this looks on the outside, that's definitely not what you're getting on the inside. So if you can find this, be aware that this is not a purple palette. It's a neutral palette with pinks, just so you know. But if you know that, this is really great if you are very fair. This one is probably my favorite. This is Rosy Tones. You know I love rosy tones, and I think this is one of the reasons why I want to buy the She's in Parties palette by Melt. I think I want to do like a rosy, mauvey, like eyeshadow palette video with like all of my rosy, mauvey eyeshadows. And this is the Vintage Soul, which is quite possibly one of the most unique color stories Catrice ever came out with. Now I'm not going to bother unwrapping and unraveling all of my Pat McGrath palettes. That will just, I'm going to sit here for hours if I need to do that. These are the three that she came out with last fall for the winter season. So I got all three in a set for Black Friday, and then with the discounts it was as if I had only bought 2 of these. So I'm still playing around with these. These are currently in my Shop My Stash as I'm filming this, so none of these are going to go anywhere, by the way. But these definitely not. And then I have the Divine Rose 2, the Subliminal 1, we have the Nocturnal Nirvana, Ritualistic Rose, and Rose Decadence. Now, 2 palettes that were already a little bit in my purgatory box, my KVD Beauty palettes. So the Shade and Light Eye, all matte. I'm going to declutter this for sure right now. And the Monarch palette, even though I would declutter this because I really don't need this. This is just, I love the design of this packaging, and that's why I can get rid of this. So I've decided to move it out of my main collection and sort of like some of the Urban Decay stuff, keep it for like makeup memories. My Nabla family here, these are not going to go anywhere. I love these little cutie palettes. I really like the Platinum. The Soul Blooming, I really like. This has been discontinued. Oh no. So you can no longer get it. And then we have the Secret, which I also liked, even though it was far more neutral once I got it home than it looked originally in the pictures online when they were promoting this. And then one I haven't played around with is their Side by Side. This is their newest palette that came out over the fall season, and it's really lovely neutrals. Makeup Revolution. I have definitely dwindled down my Makeup Revolution collection over the years. I don't bring in a lot of their stuff anymore because I'm just not in love with it. I'm just not. I do want to keep the Avocado, Mini Tasty Avocado. This is a really nice mini green palette, I have to say. So I do like that. The same goes for the Turkish Delight. I really like this color story for how small it is. It's not the best quality, but I do like it. And then I have the Black Pearl, which I haven't heard anybody talking about, but isn't this a lovely cool tone color story? And these are palettes that I also like to travel with, so then I've got some more variety compared to the Catrice stuff. I'm going to get rid of this rosy toned one because I now have the Catrice one that has rosy tones, so I feel I no longer need this. And then I'm also going to get rid of this. This is the this is the mint chocolate. I used to have a large version of this. I now own the Naked Wild West, which will do something similarly to this. These 2 I'm going to get rid of, and then these 2 I'm a little torn about because I don't reach for these. They are all shimmer palettes with same levels of shimmer in every single shade. These were limited edition for their Zodiac collection, the Water and Air Sign palettes. This has some stunning greens, this has some stunning blues, with some peaches and some cool tones. But realistically, if I think of everything else I have now, I can get rid of these. I think a brand that a lot of people fell in love with in 2020 is BH Cosmetics. Now, again, like with some of the other palettes that I've been showing you, I haven't played with all of these just yet. So the blueberry muffin and the pistachio I got last because I like the other things so much and because people were raving about these so much. So that's why I am keeping the blueberry muffin. I have yet to play around with it. And the same goes for the pistachios from the sweet shop. I bought this when it restocked. This is the green palette this is the reason why I'm getting rid of the Layla 2 from Blush Tribe. The love affair for BH got started for me with the Love in London. This is such a stunning cool tone palette. So that's why I am definitely hanging on to this. This is like one of my favorite palettes of all time. The Aurora Lights I bought because I was like, ooh, look at all those fun shimmering shades. I've had this for over a year. I've never played with it because these are baked shadows and I don't love baked shadows. So I know I won't be using this, so this can go. And these two I'm a bit torn about because the Royal Affair went into my Makeup Purgatory box last year because I still wanted to use it in a video, and I did that video, and like with the Makeup Revolution stuff, it kind of hung around after that. And the reason why I wanted to get rid of this was because it's so neutral. And at the moment that I did my declutter last year, I wasn't really into neutral eyeshadow. But in the second half of 2020, with the Lunar Beauty Eternal Eclipse and the Nabla side-by-side palette being released and the Natasha Denona Glam palette, and I now look at this and I'm like, I actually want to play with this again. So I'm now very happy that I didn't declutter it because you can no longer buy this. So I'm going to keep this. And I'm also inclined to keep the Fairy Lights. This is a cool tone color story that looks a lot more interesting in the pan than it does in real life once you start using it. I felt the same way with the Royal Affair, which is why it wasn't my favorite. But it's got some lovely like steely shades. These blues are nice. This pink is really pretty. And then it just has some really good neutrals. And I played around with it again when I was going to write a review for this. And I fell in love with it, so I just thought I can keep it around. Good old Too Faced. We have some Too Faced stuff here. I'm not going to get rid of or declutter any of this, but there is one of these palettes where I'm like, I just know I don't use it, so that's why that's gonna go. And like the Urban Decay Naked, it's gonna go into my makeup memory box. It's not this one. The Just Peachy Mattes is one of the few mattes palettes that I do like. So this is not going anywhere because I do reach for that from time to time. But the palette I'm going to discontinue using in my makeup collection is the original chocolate bar. This is, again, like the Naked one, makeup history. Who didn't own this at some point? This palette has never worked for me, though. It's too dark. The Semi-Sweet, I love. The Chocolate Bonbons, discontinued, I love. My favorite one is the one everybody hated, the White Chocolate Bar. I'm currently playing with the Sweet Peach in my Shop My Stash, and the Gingerbread Spice. It's just a really nice warm tone palette, and I love this shade here in the bottom right corner. This is another section of my eyeshadow palette collection where I'm really not going to get rid of anything because I really like my ABH palettes. This one I haven't used yet, the Norvina 4. And this I got in the Black Friday sale on a super duper deep deal, but this is very big, so that's why it kind of puts me off. And then of these like standard sized ABH palettes, I don't have the Alyssa Edwards because it was too similar to the Riviera, I felt. So I never got that, and I never got the Umrezi because that also has pressed glitters, and I'm just not a fan. But yeah, this has some lovely, lovely shades. So many people declutter this, but it's got the neutrals I want. It's got some really lovely shimmers, especially these two. I just love those, so I can't get rid of that. When it comes to any of these, really, I love all of these. The Jackie Aina is lovely. Carly Bible I'm currently playing with in my Shop My Stash because I think it's a really pretty palette for spring. I only just got it together with the Norvina 4. The Soft Glam I also put in my Shop My Stash because I think it's perfect for spring. The Sultry that everybody calls a cool tone palette that isn't really a cool tone palette. Look at how many golds you get in this, and then these two are just really warm. But yeah, it's got some really lovely shimmers, and Cyborg, I couldn't even get rid of this just because of Cyborg. Norvina, I already mentioned the that this has the same issue as the Catrice palette, where it's just not that purple as you might expect. But this is more purple than that Catrice palette for sure. Lovely quality. Love it. The Prism is probably my least used. Whoops, I just stuck my finger in there. But this has a couple of really unique shades, such as Throne and Dimension, that I love, and that's why I want to keep it around. The Subculture I love in the fall time, and then pairing it with multi-chromes from indie brands. If you still have this palette and you haven't tried that yet, please do. And the Modern Renaissance, I know a lot of people have been decluttering theirs. I love mine in the fall time. So this is double stacked, as you can see, but these are all of my Juvia's Place palettes, and I know I can get rid of some of these because I'm definitely not using all of them. However, these 9 pans are possibly some of my favorites. So the Tribe, if you can still get it, buy it, but if you can't get it, get the OPV Tropical Dreams for sure, but that's lovely. The Saharan 2, I believe, is also harder to find by now. They sometimes restock this, but it's warm tones and then these really lovely turquoisey kind of shades. These 2 duochromes are lovely. Yeah, I really think this is stellar quality from Juvia's. I really like the Deuce as well. So lovely. So great, like pastel leaning palette. The Zulu is the rainbow palette I want to keep from Juvia's because this is my kind of shades. And the Festival is a bit of a weird one, but I think it has a couple of really good unique shades. This blue, that gray, the white, the red, the vibrant orange, the pink. Just really lovely. The one I'm getting rid of is the Warrior 3. This didn't work for me. Sadly, these shades are just, it's bright rainbow, but I don't know, for me, it just, this is, like, a lot of it is very warm, and then the shimmers are very cool. I don't get it. I really like this gray shade, though, so what I want to do with this palette, before I get rid of it, is I'm going to press this shade either in a ColourPop, like, small pan, and try to work it into one of my ColourPop palettes. But maybe there's enough product here actually to press it into 2 pans. I'm not sure, but I may also want to put it in a bigger pan and perhaps see if I can put it in my blue-green palette or my cool tone palette to see if I can switch it up. Because this is the shade I love best in its entire palette, and I would hate to see that one shade go. So I'm going to repress it into a different pan so I can use it as part of either my singles collection or my ColourPop stuff. The Nomad is one of my favorites, so that's not going anywhere. The Afrique by Juvia's I am going to get rid of as well. Similar to what I'm going to be doing with the Warrior 3 though, I'm going to take this red shade out because that's the shade I would miss the most. I have everything else in other palettes, I feel. And in this Saharan palette, I don't like that peach shade. So I was thinking, if I were to put that red in here, wouldn't that just make for a perfect palette? So I'm going to put Fifi and exchange Lulu for Fifi, and then I think these will work better. This is one of my favorite warm tone palettes, and that way I think it's going to work a lot better. So again, I need to do something with that before I can get rid of it, but then I will. These 2 larger palettes, I've said this in the past, I'll say it again. I wish it would be easier for me to do this. So to take these out and to keep these 16 shades. If we could do that. But these are just, I know they're cardboard, so I know I could rip the pants out quite easily, but I don't want to get rid of the packaging. I think it's going to be less of a headache to just keep them in the palettes and just use these together as one palette from now on, because then I will get the use out of it for sure. Then we have all of these little mini palettes, which are not going to go anywhere because I love these. And then the Walhalla 2 I still need to play with, so I need to make my mind up about this. It's got lovely shades, but it's got a lot of pressed glitters as well. So, and these shades were all almost the same when I swatched them. So I'm a bit nervous about this one. But yeah, I haven't used it yet, so I don't know how I feel. And then the Nubian 2. This one's tough because I really like this green and that blue and that purple. So I haven't swatched many of my eyeshadows, but I have a shade. Is it this one? Should be this one. Is it Levy? Yes. This is Levy from Sydney Grace. and I think they may be the same shade. So if these are very similar, then I'm going to keep this one over the Juvia's Place one. If they're very different, then I'm going to declutter the palette. Ooh, do you see that Levy has a lot more blue? I think I'll do that. I'm just going to repress this into a different pan. Again, maybe put it with my ColourPop stuff, or maybe just put it as a single and try to see if I can put it in here. I don't need to keep this entire palette around for that one shade that I truly, truly love. The blue and the purple I feel aren't unique enough, but the green definitely is. Can you see this? I've laid out for you everything I'm getting rid of. I didn't count how many palettes I started off with, but I'm going to be counting in a minute for you how much I'm actually getting rid of. This is the section of stuff that I'm definitely going to pass on to people or throw in the bin if it's really old or broken or whatever. And then this is the side of the things where it's either stuff I want to like hang around for future videos, or that I want to do something with before I get rid of it, or things that go into like a makeup memory box for like collector's purposes. All right, so I did a quick count, and I'm getting rid of over 70 palettes altogether, like including the ones I still need to do something with. This is 43 palettes, or 42. Now I don't remember anymore how much I actually had, but like 42 or 43 that I'm actually getting rid of. So I said 50. And of course there are a few here where I'm going to take shades out of it, and then those are gonna go. That's another 13 palettes. So if I get rid of everything, like this is still here, and it's going to be for a while perhaps, because I won't have those videos done as soon as I want to, I'm sure. But yeah, these are all things that I'm going to get rid of. So that's definitely over 50. So that's lovely. And then of the palettes I still need to do something with, or that I'm going to store or whatever, those ones were 31 in total. So if it's 42 and 31, then it's 73 palettes that are leaving my collection. So I'm very, very stoked with that. That's a lot more than I had anticipated. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm pretty sure that this is not what you had expected perhaps going into this makeup declutter. I know that very often people get rid of half or whatever. This I feel really good on. So thank you very much for watching today's video. I'm going to be filming my makeup reorganization right now that I'm done decluttering everything. And then you are going to be seeing that too. So if you'd like to see how I reorganize my entire makeup collection, if you would like to see me rearrange those ColourPop palettes, then please stay tuned, because those are videos that are coming your way very, very soon. I'm filming this video weeks in advance, so that's something I still need to do, but by the time this video goes up, it won't be long until you see those. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more content if you'd like to see more by me. I tend to make a lot of videos about makeup and fashion 3 times a week usually. So I hope you'd like to stay tuned for more, and I hope you have a great day, and I would like to see you in my next video. Bye-bye!